Hi there, I'm Heath Fletcher, host of The Healthy Enterprise. This episode is part of a limited series called Moneyball. It's in conjunction with the BLPN Club. BLPN's Moneyball program helps founders step up to the plate and knock fundraising out of the park. You'll hear about the people, their ventures, and their pitch-making experiences. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, here we are, Chandi. Thank you for joining me for this episode, special edition for the Moneyball series. So, let's start with you introducing yourself to listeners and your role and about the company.
Great. Thank you, Heath. Thank you for the opportunity. Chandi Bandara, CEO of Precision Quantomics. The company Precision Quantomics, we founded the company back in 2020 by a brilliant scientist named Bhagwat Prasad to help address the inefficiency in the pharmaceutical drug development process. Currently, the status quo is that nearly 90% of the drugs that's currently in development doesn't make it to the market. And two main reasons is that one, the models you use to test these drug candidates early stage in the development before going into the clinical trials in the humans are really animal models and really not replication of the human model, representative of the human models.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, the tools that you use to collect the data when you expose these models for different drug candidates are really 30 years old. So our approach here through Bhagwat's innovations and what he brings in is to use quantitative proteomics, use leveraging on a technology called LCMS for getting additional layer of data once you go through early stage drug development. So that helps pharma companies to have a better efficiency, less candidates, drug candidates to fail, and for us to really accelerate the drug development process through that. To do that, we have several different options. We have assay kits that pharma companies can buy off the shelf and incorporate it into their drug development workflow so that they can get that additional layer of data. Some pharma companies do not have the capability to do the testing yet, so we're working with them, but also we provide them that testing analysis as a service. So that's the second arm of the second leg of the business. A third is a very interesting, very um, innovative approach, which is we call translational proteomics atlas. And this is proteomics data from different population. I can go into more explain too, but this proteomic database that pharma companies can use to model how these drugs would work on animal models or from human models. We call it the translation, and also in broad populations that is not currently done. So those are
Right.
the three legs of the business. They are all core based on quantitative proteomics, which is the functional molecules of the biological systems, and getting a better insight of those molecules, especially related to the drug development process or drug metabolism.
Very interesting. Thanks for explaining it. You did a great job explaining it to me. It wasn't way over my head, but it was getting into the science world a bit too, which was really interesting. For listeners, I think too, it was a great explanation. So now, how long has the company been in the works? Where
Yeah.
and what stage is the company at right now?
Yeah. So company really founded back in 2020 as a spin-off company from Washington State University. But
Mm.
we really started doing business nearly last 18 months. Right now, we are raising the last part of our seed round. We have commercial products already out there in the marketplace. We work with major pharmaceutical companies to use some of these assay kits in their drug development workflow.
Hmm.
Um, so it's still a small company growing, but we were very fortunate that we had been able to get good early traction from big pharmaceutical companies because this is a problem that really need to be addressed. And 90% failure rate in the drug development workers workflow is just unacceptable. And this is not a
It's outrageous.
people,
Yeah, it's
yeah, I tell people, this kind of inefficiency I haven't seen anywhere. I have experience and the background in running operations for bigger companies like Amazon, even though I'm a biotechnology, background.
is that
But
right?
Yeah. It's just, oh my gosh, they operate in a different efficiency rate. So
Totally.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of opportunity, big opportunity for us um, to advance the field here, really.
And what was it that attracted you to the company? What
Yeah.
was it?
Very good question. I was trained as a molecular biologist and biophysicist, and I did the research and development in journey early in my career, and then moved into most into the business development side of the biotechnology. And then last 7 years or so, my mission had been on bringing innovative technologies to marketplace through startups and the kind of entrepreneur by nature. So I got to know this scientist here, like I mentioned, Dr. Bhagwat Prasad, and had been talking to him for, I don't know, maybe about 2 years before I joined the company. Was really interested in the journey and the problem he's trying to address, the solution he had, and also he brings in wealth of knowledge and lots of reputation in the industry as somebody who can, through this solution, able to address part of this inefficiency, right? Quantum proteomics in the drug development. So I
Right.
thought this is a great mission. I know to jump in all in and help take the company to the next level.
And being in that role,
Yeah.
big part of your job is to go out there and pitch and find investors and talk to the community and level up interest. So tell me about that part for you when you first started coming out, going out and telling the story
Mhm.
about the company. How was that for you?
Yeah, so very good question, Heath. You're right. We have a great opportunity here to bring this company forward and quickly because we are trying to address a big problem, but we need to address quickly, before
Yeah.
competition get there. But also we see that there's a lot we can do here. So raising the funds to accelerate that journey is a major part of it. But
Yeah.
I have mostly been a startup entrepreneur, mostly raised the funding through non-dilutive means. NIH, SCTR, great mechanisms, but we needed to reach beyond that.
Right.
Precision Quantomics itself has non-dilutive funding like that, which is great, but we needed to accelerate. So that required me reaching out to the investors. That was for the first time, and that was hard. Really, it's just mostly. Somebody told me this when I first started talking to the investors, is that you go talk to the customers, which I have done quite a bit, as a business development person, and you give them something to pay money for. Whereas an investor, you sell an idea mostly, right?
Yeah. Right.
Different. It's different. So you need to earn their trust, but also share a story that they can understand and with the right audience as well. So it's quite a bit of learning from me, very steep learning, and still learning through that process. But we have fortunately had good success with getting some investors understand what we are trying to do and our mission and invest in the company. So to answer your question in a short, it is a steep learning curve, and it's still learning. We have had good success so far, which is kind of tells me that okay, I'm on the right path.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, and you're yeah, well, you're obviously a good storyteller. Is it was it difficult to figure out which parts, or is it how do you decide which parts of the story to tell? Because obviously you can't tell the whole story all at once every time. How do you decide which components are most important in the to the audience or the people that you're speaking to?
Yeah, very good question, Heath. I can have a lot to say about that, and especially from my experience. And I think this is interesting for the listeners as well, other
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. I was so enthralled by the journey we are trying, our journey and our mission. I would want to share everything. I was like, how come they're not interested about it?
Yeah. Right. I want to tell
So
you everything all
yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
I'm interested, but they don't have the time, and they have 100 other things that they have to listen and
Exactly right.
which required me, processing in my mind to like understand it from their point of view. But I think one of the best things happened to me is that I joined this organization called BLPN, Bullpen or BLPN, and I got to know lots of other operators through that, and also one of the programs we had back in 2025 is called Moneyball program. And this is seasoned entrepreneurs who have gone there, raised the funds, and exited the companies, trying to help other founders to how to tell the story and raise the funds. And that was a very difficult process in terms of the learnings I had to go through, like the steep learning curve, very painful, which is great, which I required to take
Yeah.
the medicine, not to try to share the whole story. This is the part we need to focus on. Why? So going to your question about what part of the story I decided to, or I figured out how to sell. And so obviously, what is the story that is most relevant to the immediate success of the company, and what is the story that really focus on solving the problem. Obviously, what is the problem? What is the solution we are trying to bring in? And here's how we do it. And then going to say, like, here's the success we have had so far in terms of making that proof of concept. And therefore, this is what we are trying to raise. And this is the milestones we are trying to reach with that. And we have the team to do that, right? So that is easy to say, like, oh, it's just like easy to understand. But when you have a bigger problem we are trying to solve and we want to share everything, it takes quite a bit of discipline to narrow it down and do it in a way that you can quickly comprehend and understand your journey.
So how did the Moneyball help with that? Their goal is to help pitch makers deliver their pitch and be able to sort of knock it out of the park and hit a home run with a potential investor. How did they help you perfect or adjust your pitch to help the process?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Like, especially in my case, we had three coaches who, like I said, it have been there, raised the funds, and also kind of had exits. So we started off with making initial pitch deck and then kind of going through them every week, lengthy presentations, and then kind of working. I think we had about 6 to 8 week time leading up to the initial pitches. So it is kind of working through this. I think we started. I thought I'm done initially. Made the pitch deck, but then one of the coaches told me, there's going to be 150 slides in your deck of different iterations of your pitch deck. 6 slides, which is true, and I end up being a bigger presentation because it requires going through that. Okay, here's a story I'm trying to tell, and here's a story, and then getting their input. So it is a lot of going back and forth and working with different inputs too. And that's the other aspect of it. You have different coaches, and they would give you different inputs, and you need to be able to process that to your story and put a story forward that you think makes sense and work through that.
When you entered the Moneyball program, probably went through several interview processes with a variety of people. Do you recall the moment when you were like, I got it. Now I know what I want to say. Like, did you get to that point where you were like, you practiced a few things, and then you finally found the moment where you got it right?
Um, so I think the way that I arrived at place that I feel comfortable is through, like I mentioned, various iterations, but also the Moneyball program had this opportunity to present to investors in a small number of investors at different times, which is great. So we were really focusing on the bio conference and the big
Right.
in-person meeting, but before going into that, weeks and weeks, we had small investor groups through Bullpen that we were able to bring it together to give input. So as you are hearing from them, you can really feel it. I think it's like, okay, well, I'm not as getting that input on my problem statement. Maybe I'm doing a good job there, and then kind of advancing it to, like, okay, what solutions we have. So you're right. So it's through many presentations, especially with the investors as well. And these are very friendly audiences too, and they would give you input because that's how the setup was, to say that these are Moneyball prize participants, and they would go through the training, and then best thing you can do is not really invest, but give them the input, right? So they're there to really find errors in what you are trying to do to get you to the best version of sharing your story. So I think the more and more I did it, the less and less input there were to. Okay, maybe I'm getting somewhere. It
Was
is
there?
no perfection, right? Really, because every
Yeah.
audience is different too. So sometimes you have to present to a more scientific audience in the investor base. So you need to kind of shuffle your pitch deck more, and that requires more work on your presentation still. Yeah.
Do you recall any significant errors or mistakes you made getting to that point? Any so that would, maybe resonate with people who are kind of in your position or about to enter that position of having to make pitches and presentations?
Yeah, I this is again, this is a really good question, Heath. I think it is very important for entrepreneurs to hear, right, without sometimes going through the experience I went through. I thought, I have a great story. First slide, started talking about the problem and then how it's related to, especially in my story, it's about therapeutics and how we bring the therapeutics forward quickly. And it was just like nearly maybe 90 seconds. I have only one on the first slide, and
Right.
then somebody told me, like, okay, here's a 60 seconds. I listen to you only for 60 seconds. I need to hear what is the problem, how you're going to solve it. Like they wanted to hear most of the story in the first 60 seconds. So
Right.
that was something I didn't think of. I was thinking more from like the 5 minutes or 7 minutes that I have, but the attention span that they would give you to present, or like really present something that they would really be interested, is just 60 seconds. So, and that is like an investor interest, and I hope I explain it well. It's not like you're pitching the whole thing within 60 seconds,
Right.
but show that, hey, what's the problem, what am I doing to solve it, and to show some traction of you are doing it, so that the investors would be interested to listen to the rest of the story.
Right.
And I didn't get
Right.
that to right for longest time. I thought that was
Right.
very, and these investors really had a 60-second clock running to say like, I didn't hear this part until now. I mean, no point. So that was
So
how.
define the problem, explain what the solution is that you're talking that you're pitching, and the viability of it in a commercial sense. So that's what
Viability
you're
of
saying.
our solution in a commercial
Yeah.
setting, right? At least
Yeah.
then they would be like, okay, these guys have, I hear, they could say like 90% failure rate. I hear it all the time. It is not news to them. Be like, okay, what do you do in that? And what is the traction you have? So needed to get to that, at least part of that,
Right.
so that they have interest to listen to your rest of the story in this one sitting. Yeah.
Right. And you kind of have a unique, you have a unique perspective because you've come into the company
Mhm.
not a founder, not a
Mhm.
scientist,
Mhm.
as CEO to represent the company. So you kind of have a different, you get a unique approach. You get kind of an objective approach almost, where you come into this and you have to learn about it, but and then develop the story that you're going to tell when you go out, which is different than somebody who's a founder or one of the originating idea people, where they're very rooted in science.
Mhm.
And do you find that it's easier for you to depart from the science and be able to dive more into the business side?
That's a good question, and I think you're right, Heath. It's just because not being the founder, there was a lot of learning. Every field in life sciences is different, and drug
Yeah.
development is I'm still learning. But I think the founder was amazing to kind of help me through to understand what he's trying to address, and I almost feel like at least the mission aspect,
Hmm.
why he founded the company, to what mission, and obviously why what I'm doing right now is we are very aligned, right? So we were able to get that alignment very quickly, so I can represent the company as he would, as to what mission we are trying to accomplish. So that's the first part. But then there's different layers of that, right? It's like the
Yeah.
science aspect, that's where I really try to bring him and the other people in my scientific team to explain that, because there's certain audience that really requires his level of expertise. So and also I have a biology background, which is really helpful for me to understand, and
Hmm.
at least
Right.
in this stage, in this early conversations, which is good. But like I said, it is mission alignment, obviously, because I'm the one leading the company now, taking it to the next level, and then understanding which roles each of us play to bring the best out of what we are trying to accomplish, to care, to share that story.
So the Moneyball program is designed to help prepare you. It starts months in advance. You work through some of these iterations. You do a lot of presentations, and you give them feedback. And it's preparing you to do pitches at a real bio events or large scale events where you actually get to pitch and present in front of real investors, right? So tell me about you once you got there and afterwards. How did you feel the impact was, and was it successful for you, and how did you come away from those events?
Yeah, and that's a very good question. So really, that's where the rubber hits the road, right? And that's where we feel like, okay, what really have to be. But so this is in adjacent to that main event, with its bio or JPM. The Bullpen had a great setup to set up these separate events with the investors' presence for us to present, which is great. And these are mostly, they knew what press companies are presenting, they knew what areas of science, so which is very catered to what our areas of presentation or the companies. I had 3 sessions, which is really great over 3 days, and I'd say like mostly the way that I understood that the success in terms of the questions, follow-ups we had, and kind of input from that. And my coaches were there as well in those sessions, and they were really helped to get us like real-time input to say like how we are doing, so that we had the opportunity to improve from day to day, which is really great. And then everything, the magic happens in this follow-up conversations, the questions, follow-ups from that. So that's kind of what made I feel like, okay, well, I have been prepared well and seeing some good traction with that.
Okay, well, this might be a good time to talk to maybe share some of your insights or advice, maybe for people who are considering entering something like Moneyball or preparing to do some presentations. Is there any advice or sort of insight that you'd like to share with them with regard to your journey and where you're at now?
Yeah, no, I think when I became a CEO and started running these early stage companies, one thing I realized is that there's not a lot of people that a CEO or an operator can turn to for advice. So I really had to seek out. My company is based in Spokane, Washington. It's not like the Silicon Valley company. It's
Right.
not Boston Metro company. So I really had to seek out for those people, or the, um, the ecosystems that would provide such input. So my experience had been mostly with Bullpen, which is great, which is with right now I think more than 500 members, most operators, CEOs, CSOs, or CFOs, and then investors. So which was a great environment. And when they had this accelerator program, they called the Moneyball at the time, I was really ready to jump in, and I really wanted to take part in that. That's because I knew I needed the input. I need to hear from others who had been there, done that, as to what I'm doing right or wrong. And so that's kind of where I found that opportunity being an accelerator. So I'd say, for founders or anybody who's trying to go through that journey, find a ecosystem that you can get input, you can present, you can get ecosystem and continuously engage until you can see improvement, right? And it doesn't, because everyone is busy really in such ecosystems too. You don't get that very often. So fortunately for me, Moneyball was that opportunity to get such input. So that was I think really great for me. So again, I think I
Mm-hmm.
have seen and I have met entrepreneurs who had exits, even they're going through the second, third iteration of their the second, third journeys of their biotech, entrepreneur journeys, and even they join accelerator programs.
Right.
And that kind of says to me is like, okay, every story is different, every technology you are trying to bring forward is different. So they might require different input and different way to. So the more the input that you can get early on, the better.
Yeah, that's good advice. And in being part of an organized system like that, you get honest feedback too, right? Like it's not someone patting you back. Oh, you did a great job. Oh, I wouldn't change anything. They really give um, really good feedback. They tell you what you did wrong as much as they told you what you did right.
This is so true. This is so true because they always look into, because you're signed up and with that understanding. So I want to get more input and they're understanding this as well. Not try to get like the pat on your back and say like you did a good job. They're always looking to see like what did you not do right, right? And
Right.
that is huge. And like I said,
Yeah.
as a CEO, you don't get that offer because everyone thinks that you're doing right, or just they don't want to
Yeah.
challenge you, especially. So that's not helpful for us to grow because we have any one of us, I think we have still a lot of growth that we can do.
Right. Amazing. Anything else you'd like to share about your experience, about where you're at, what's next?
I'd say like I've been very fortunate, after seeking out some of those inputs, I've been very fortunate to get such input through Pen or other peers. So just reach out in any time I can help such entrepreneurs going through the journey, whether it's through introductions or kind of giving my own input. I'm happy to do that. I feel like as I'm going through this journey, I want to give back because I know how much it helped me in a short time when I had that opportunity to connect with other operators and investors and get some feedback.
Well, if they want more to learn more, they can find you where, and the website for Precision Quantomics is what again?
It's www.precisionquantomics.com. And then you can always find me on LinkedIn as well, much easier to get hold of. It's Chandi Bandara.
Awesome. Chandi, thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure to meet you in San Francisco in January. I'm glad we finally got the time to sit down and have this conversation. But it's been a pleasure, and I wish you best of luck. I hope to hear more from you in the future.
Thank you so much, Heath. Thank you for the opportunity to share. Really appreciate that.